nothing but the dog in me. Why must I chase the cat?
Good evening and welcome to Pound Posse Presents. It's Saturday, July 14th, which is the day after Friday, July 13th. Yesterday was my birthday, fell on a Friday the 13th. It was a beautiful thing. If anybody knows me, it's like a holiday all on its own. To be a Friday the 13th, that is. Anyway, first I want to thank everyone who posted on my wall all the wonderful birthday wishes. I think I was able to respond to them all individually. If I missed anybody, it wasn't intentional. Thanks to Dawn for the very thoughtful gift. Thanks to Zach for joining me out to dinner last night. It was all in all a pretty cool day. And, another year older, what can I say? Doesn't feel real good, but it is what it is, and that's a part of life. Anyway, I have a bunch of dogs tonight. You know, I used to do birthday dogs every year, and that kind of fell by the wayside. Last year, I think I did some... No, last year I didn't. The year before, I did, and it just kind of didn't feel right anymore. The year before's birthday dogs, there was a couple of them that were in the sweet pea fire. So maybe for a while we won't do that, and we'll just keep plugging away for some of the dogs who really, really need your help. And I've got a bunch of those tonight. There's a long distance request. There's some dogs who have been a very long time waiting for their homes. There's a rescue that sounds like it really needs some help with fosters. And I can't say enough how fostering, while it may start out as a thought in your head of being an inconvenience and a commitment you don't want to make and you don't know how it's going to turn out, fostering saves lives. Fostering does so much for an animal and keeps it in a home, keeps it in an environment where it will thrive. And it's just so important. It makes it possible for rescues to keep taking animals because so many of them are foster based now. There's not, shelters with a building where they have a place to put a dog. And if there's no fosters, they end up, a lot of them, in boarding, especially when the rescue won't turn its back on the animals it's had in its care previously. Or, there's just such a need that they can't say no. And boarding is its own, what do I want to say, catch-22. I mean, it keeps a dog out of a shelter, but it's not in a home, and it's very expensive, and it's not the solution, because dogs in boarding get forgotten about, probably more so than the dogs in shelters, because at least people are going to the shelters in an attempt to adopt, and they're not going to the boarding facilities. So there's a lot of special circumstances with the dogs I'm going to present to you tonight. If you share, you never know. An animal can be one share away from finding its perfect home. A lot of these dogs are niche adoptions, and that doesn't make them bad dogs. It just makes them individuals who have particular needs. So please consider adopting. Please consider fostering. And if you can do neither, please share. Many of these dogs are already on the Pound Posse Presents Facebook page. It takes a second to share. Like I've said in the past, if you just pick one and share it, or share them all, you never know. Somebody in your circle could be just the right fit, and it would certainly make all the difference in the world to an animal who is really very deserving and has been waiting probably a long time. So I'm going to get started. before I get off on a tangent, and we all know how that works around here. I need to find someone in Michigan. Here's my long distance plea. Zach, let's get the picture of Bandit up. I've shown Bandit before. He lives with his family near Davison, and they love him very much. Unfortunately, Bandit has food aggression with the other dogs in the home and is very protective of family members as well. He is overall a very good dog, but would be best as an only in a home with a savvy leader who can work with him on his behaviors. He's best to be in a situation with no children, and the family does not want to see him end up in a shelter. They kind of know what the outcome would probably be. Bandit needs someone who can fully assess him and work with him to overcome whatever his underlying reasons are for being the way he is. And again, he's not a bad dog. He's just got some issues that make it very difficult for him to be in a home with other animals. And it's kind of like some of the issues that my Bella had when she first came to me, but of course, she's not a big dog, and we worked through them, mostly because she didn't have a choice. But a bigger dog is a different story, and there's different circumstances and different breeds that kind of take correction differently. So anyway, if you are in the Michigan area, if you know anybody in that Michigan area who has a rescue, who runs a training facility, like I said, they don't want him just to out and out go to a shelter. They really want him to be placed in capable hands, and I give them credit for that. Like I said, we've had him up on the show before. It's been a while. They've tried to work with him, and sometimes the best thing to do is to admit that it's a little more for your situation than you can work with. No harm, no foul. But before the situation deteriorates and becomes unsafe, let's try to get Bandit into those capable hands. You can text Dalton at 810-869-4997. That's 810-869-4997. And I'll be posting Bandit on my Facebook pages. Hopefully we can find someone in that area who can help. And this is one of the people that Zach knows, so we're really trying to do our best to help a friend out. Next up, we have Frankie, and look at how beautiful Frankie is. He is a senior who, after being surrendered by the people in the only home he ever knew, has been waiting for a second chance at life for a year. Shelter life is hard on any dog, but for a 12-year-old who has no idea why he isn't home, you can scroll through, Zach. It's devastating. Still, Frankie is loving in spite of the changes in his world. He's definitely one of those niche adoptions. He needs a savvy owner who will keep him away from situations that make Frankie uncomfortable, someone who gets him. Frankie is dog selective and cannot live with cats. He'd be better with older teens, if any children at all in the home. Frankie would need a place with a fenced-in yard. In short, Frankie needs a special place to land. And if you are that person who can give this old guy the right place to call home for the rest of his days, please, before he runs out of days, and his last memories are of shelter life. And that's not because the shelter has his life in danger, but because he's an older guy. I have said so many times that, no dog deserves shelter life, but, the older ones, they're heartbreaking. Especially a dog that was in the same home its whole life. It's got to be devastating. So anyway, if you can help Frankie, if you're interested, please call the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. Their number is 516-785-5220. Once again, that's 516-785-5220. Or if you want to find out a little more before you make the call, you can check Frankie out on Facebook. Frankie, the Invisible Boy in the Shelter. Next up, we have King. Look at how beautiful he is. King is a 3-year-old lover boy who has been at the shelter for a year without a single inquiry. How can no one be interested in him? They call it black dog syndrome. And, black dogs and brindle dogs are the most overlooked in the shelters, which, again, I never understood because they'd be two of my favorites. Anyway, he needs to be an only pet, but in return, you will have a companion who loves you unconditionally, is smart, house-trained, great on a leash, and will brighten your days with his stellar personality. Please consider ending his wait and opening your home to this deserving boy. You can check him out on Facebook, Take King Home, or call 516-785-5220. Once again, that's the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter at 516-785-5220. Next up, we have Jingo. Look at this happy face. How can he be still looking for a home? He was left behind when his family moved and surrendered him at the shelter. He's a 2-year-old hound mix who is crate trained, house trained, and knows a variety of commands. Poor Jingo was so devastated when his family left him at the shelter that he completely shut down and wouldn't even eat for a good 2 weeks. Thank God for patient volunteers, and Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter has so many of them. Jingo loves his toys and is interested in other dogs, but can be a bit pushy, so a tolerant housemate and slow introductions would be necessary. Jingo is a handsome boy who would be a great all-around companion and friend for life. If you are interested in Jingo, you can call 516-785-5220. Once again, that's 516-785-5220. And you can check him out on Facebook as well. Jingo needs a home. Next up, we have Barbie. Barbie was given up at 3 years old with her 3 still nursing puppies. And quite typically, her pups were adopted when they were of age, but Mom, as usual, was left behind. She's been waiting for 4 years for her chance at a home. Unfortunately, Barbie started out in a foster home, but it seems where her foster lived, there was a dog limit. So without another foster home available, with the rescue, she was placed in boarding, where she remains. Now, boarding can afford more attention to individual animals than a shelter, but it's not a home either, and there's no exposure for potential adopters. So let's try to help change that. Barbie knows her basic commands. She was never destructive in her foster home, and she was a very good girl. She prefers larger male dogs to play with, so no smaller pets or young children. And this sweet girl has waited far too long, so let's get her noticed. If you are interested in finding out more, email kobemnstr@hotmail.com. That's kobemnstr@hotmail.com, or visit Fur Babies Rescue's website at fbrrny.com. Next up, we have Mona, and she's another beauty who has been waiting a long time to find her forever place in this world. She was pulled from the shelter by Fur Babies Rescue after a year of being stressed out and overlooked. Mona was placed in a foster home, and her foster home loved her. The family just doted on her, and she thrived after having been, again, stressed in the kennel. Unfortunately, after a while, Mona and the resident dog stopped getting along, and without another foster home, Mona too ended up in boarding, where she has been for about 3 years. So, forgotten and overlooked again, Mona needs to be in a home. She's about 6 years old, good with kids, no smaller animals or cats. And once again, you can email KOBEMNSTR@hotmail.com, KOBEMNSTR@hotmail.com, or visit FBRRNY.com. Now, next is JJ. JJ and his litter mates were pulled from the shelter at 5 months old, where they had ended up after being starved and burned with chemicals. JJ had some guarding issues with food, and you cannot blame him after the hell that he went through at, the most formative time in his life. He was happily in a home, but when his humans had a child, the safety of all concerned was in question, and JJ was returned. Again, with no foster available, JJ found himself in boarding, where he waits patiently for someone to choose him. Guarding issues are not insurmountable, but a savvy, strong leader is key. JJ needs to work on some of his social skills, but at 4.5, he is an absolute love and would do best for now as an only with no children. Fur Babies Rescue is the rescue, and the email is KOBEMNSTR@hotmail.com. You can visit the website at FBRRNY.com. Next is Penny. And Penny and her siblings had been dumped at a high-kill shelter, way too young to be without their mom. Pulled by a rescue, the litter was loved on, nurtured, and eventually adopted out. Penny's family unfortunately went through some changes, and as a result, Penny and another dog in the house stopped getting along. Penny was returned to the rescue and has been in boarding due to the lack of foster homes. People, please step up and foster, please. Penny is now about 1.5 years and a big girl at about 80 pounds. She is loving, sensitive to her surroundings, and very social. She's been getting along well with some of the dogs at the boarding facility, which is a good sign. Penny loves children. She will need a home with a patient person who can guide her and help her shape her, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, into the best dog she can be. Now, again, if you want to find out more, it's KOBEMNSTR@hotmail.com, or visit the website FBRRNY.com. Next, we have Prince. Prince started out being in one home for his whole life, and then started showing up as a stray at the shelter. On his 3rd round as a stray, that same owner who had come for him before never showed. So poor Prince was bailed on, which is horrifying. Prince has been at the shelter for a long time. He's almost 8 years old, and he's another sweetheart who just wants a home, but he's been overlooked time and time again. He loves to play ball and enjoys being outside in the grass. He's a mellow guy who needs to be the only pet in the home and can live with older children. He needs stability and love and just a home. He has a Facebook page, Prince Needs a Family, or you can call the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter at 516-785-5220 516-785-5220. Next we have Dawn. Look at that face. Dawn arrived at the shelter with her brother Dusk as a stray. Dusk has found himself a home, but Dawn still waits. When she arrived at the shelter, Dawn was very scared of the surroundings, but she warmed up quickly. She's a friendly, playful, happy girl. She knows commands, walks nicely on a leash, and is interested in other dogs. She's a real cuddler and will make someone's heart very happy. If you are interested in Dawn, you can call the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter at 516-785-5220. That's 516-785-5220. Or you can check Facebook. The page is still under waiting for the name change to happen, but for now it's still called Homes for Dusk and Dawn. And if you check them out, you will see more pictures of Dawn and probably some old pictures of Dusk, which isn't a bad thing. I just want to mention too that the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter is still ongoing with their Summer of Love, which is no-fee adoptions through September 3rd. And, you know, while some people may frown on that, you can scroll through these guys all over again if you want, Zach. Some people may frown on free adoptions, but there's still the adoption process. It's not that they're just giving anybody who shows up at the shelter a dog by any means. But, you know, sometimes when you are someone who wants to adopt a dog, you can get through the day-to-day care, you can get through the toys and the food and, you know, the vet visits and et cetera. But sometimes coming up with the adoption fee, depending on where you're trying to adopt from, can be a little bit daunting because some of them are pretty steep. So to give someone that head start isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't make someone a bad pet owner if their finances aren't, you know, in the best shape. There are so many dogs that need homes, and sometimes the right person is right there, but maybe that adoption fee is not something they can swing at the time. So would you deny a dog the perfect home and condemn the owner? It doesn't make sense. So I'd like to just address all that right now and know that, like I said, they're definitely not just handing a dog to anybody who shows up in line at the shelter. Not the case. You still have to qualify. And therein lies the big difference from some of these clear the shelter events who, you know, kind of just want to get the dogs out of their hair and consider themselves heroes for doing so. So anyway, these guys are all available, all deserving, all a little quirky maybe, but you know, quirky's not bad. Just because a dog needs to be an only, when you're at the end, I'll take the camera back. Just because a dog needs to be an only doesn't make it a bad dog. Just because a dog is dog selective doesn't make it a bad dog. You know, we as humans don't always like everybody. I know I don't. You know, we've all got a past that makes for maybe some uncomfortable feelings in certain situations. It's all the same. These dogs aren't any less because they need to be only dogs. They're just harder to place. And I know I talk about it all the time, but I can't say enough how there's got to be a home out there. There are so many people who do only have one dog. Dogs don't live forever. People need to kind of get back in the saddle and not feel like, oh, I can't have another dog ever again because it hurts so much to lose mine. You know what? It does hurt. I know that very well. But if you are a pet owner, you're a pet owner. And not to have one in your home because your heart is broken, yeah, okay, I get it, but think of all the dogs out there who are literally dying because there's no place for them to go. If you can be the difference between life or death, why wouldn't you be? And sometimes, it's the trickle effect. It's not necessarily the dog that you adopt whose life was in danger, but the next one who you made room for, or the next one the shelter can take in because that space freed up. There's a ripple effect. You drop a pebble in the water and the ripples, make a very wide circle and touch a lot of places. And it's the same thing. And it's the same thing with fostering. Some of these dogs, yeah, they're same thing, need to be in an only pet environment, and they're out there. When you agree to foster, it's pretty much you're in it until that dog goes home. And for some dogs, that's an easier find of a home than for others. But the difference that you're making, excuse me, in that dog's life is tremendous. A dog is going to be so much more adoptable for being in a home and for being decompressed. The shelter environment is so stressful, and some of these dogs really don't do well. And they're defensive, they're scared. People walk past the kennel and they're barking or they're cringing, and they just don't show well. Once they're in a home and they're settled and they have a little confidence back, you can be the difference in finding that dog a home. So please consider it. And if you're ever interested and you're not sure who you want to foster with, you can always reach out to me, and I'm very sure I can find a rescue who would be absolutely thrilled to have a foster. And you don't have to have an only pet situation to foster. If your dog gets along with dogs and there's another dog that gets along with dogs, you're perfect. So please consider it. Please save a life. Please share the dogs that I have posted. Please share the show. Let's get some of these dogs noticed, and let's get them in a home. They're all very deserving, and the difference is you. And like I said earlier, they might be only a share away from finding their absolutely perfect home, and it could be because you hit the share button. What could be better than that? Anyway, I'm going to say peace, love, and dogs. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Good night.